In this video, we'll build a complete WordPress website with 6 pages, a blog, and a fully functional email contact form. Before we cover the website design that we'll be building in this video with an in-depth look at it, let's briefly cover what we'll be learning throughout the video. As you already know, we'll be learning WordPress, which you'll find super easy, and while it's a really easy tool to build websites, it's used by some of the biggest websites in the world, as you can see here with this list of websites using WordPress. We'll also learn how to use the free version of the Beaver Builder plugin, which is a really simple way to build WordPress pages, and that uses the most popular responsive website framework in the world called Bootstrap. I'm also going to show you a really simple way to build a free logo online, and I'll show you where you can get free pictures from and edit them using a free website where we don't have to download any image editing software. Then, as we know already, we'll be adding a WordPress blog, a fully functional email contact form, we'll add a Google map, and I'm also going to give you some tips on optimizing your website for Google search. Okay, so now let's take a look at the website that we're going to be building today. So as we see, we have the logo, the navigation, then this content on the left, which is going to display on top of our full screen background image. Then as we scroll down the website, we're going to have this heading section with the border, then the text underneath that, followed by these sections where we have the icons, the headings, and the text, all of which I'm going to show you how you can change and adjust to your own design. And moving down the page, we'll have this portfolio section, which you'll learn how to add your own images to. And we'll also have a portfolio page where we can add images, followed by this logo section with who we've worked with, a section for testimonials, and then a team or about us section at the bottom before we get to the call out with the phone number and the footer of the website, where I'll show you how you can add social media icons to link to your various social media pages. We'll add our services down here, which will link to the services page, and then the different pages of the website with links to them, as well as a section for the blog post, which we'll add later in the tutorial. So now let's take a look at the About page next, which we're going to have a section here at the top, which is called Breadcrumbs, with the heading, the text, and then as we scroll down the website, I'm not going to go over the rest of the pages in great detail, but you can see the sections here that will be added to the website. And then moving over to the portfolio page, we'll have a breadcrumb section at the top, similar to the About Us page, and then a section where we can add our portfolio images, followed by a reviews section. And then moving over to the services page, we'll have again the breadcrumbs, and then icons, headings, and text, similar to the home page. And for the reviews page, we're going to take advantage of the testimonials section that was similar to the home page and just duplicating them to add more room for testimonials. And finally, on the contact us page, we'll have a section where we can add our contact info on the left, then a fully functional contact form on the right where we can add our name, a service, our email, a message. Then once we submit the message, it's going to show us something saying that it's successfully submitted, and it's going to go directly to the email that we provide. So you can set it up with a Gmail account, for example, or your domain.com email, which you'll get for free with a web hosting account that I'm going to show you how to set up in just a few minutes. Then at the very bottom of the website, we're going to have a Google map, which you can add your own places to. So if you have a small business with it listed on Google Maps, you can add it there, or you can just add a city name. Then as a little bonus to the website, we're going to set up a WordPress blog where you can add posts and a sidebar where I'll show you how you can add your own social media icons to. Then if you're a small local business, in my experience through Google Analytics, about 60% to 70% of your traffic is going to come from people searching on mobile devices and on tablets. So this website is going to be mobile friendly and friendly for people using devices such as iPads. Okay, so now let's go over what we'll need to get set up with our do-it-yourself WordPress website. So I've made this little table here, and we're going to start off with a domain name. So you're going to need a .com name or domain name to build your website, and with a web hosting account, that will come free. So I'll walk you through getting that set up, and as we already know, we'll be using the free version of the website builder called Beaver Builder. Then later on in the tutorial, I'm going to give you some tips on how you can get set up with WordPress website backups, website caching, which means your files will be saved across computer networks, and that's going to make your website faster. Then I'll also give you tips on getting set up with free website security, and a tip on a plugin on how you can clean your website files or database. Also, while we're building the website, and as I mentioned previously, I'm going to give you some free search engine optimization tips to get websites up the Google search rankings. Then also with your website hosting account, you'll get one free email address with your domain name or .com name in it. And website hosting usually costs about $8 a month, but I'm going to show you how you can get it down to less than $3 a month. Just remember that with any website hosting account that you sign up for on the internet, once the term that you sign up for expires, it's going to go up to the regular price. So I'm going to show you how you can navigate that, selecting the term of your website hosting account. So in the description of this video, I'm going to have a link to this discount page right here, which Bluehost set up for me because I've been a customer of theirs for so long and have recommended their services to my subscribers. So if you're unfamiliar with Bluehost, they're actually the recommended WordPress hosting service by the folks at WordPress themselves. So one day I'll send Bluehost a picture so we're not looking at a blank laptop, but all you really need to know on this page is that we can get WordPress installed with one click, and Bluehost has really awesome customer support if you have any questions. So once we select the Get Started Now button, we'll be able to select the website hosting plan that we want to buy. So now Bluehost has made it pretty easy for us in selecting plans, because if we're just building one website, obviously we want to go with the cheapest plan. Or if you plan to build multiple websites, you can up it to the Plus plan, but 50 gigabytes is plenty of space, and we'll also get a free SSL certificate, which is the lock symbol next to our domain name, and Bluehost will install that automatically with the one-click WordPress installation. Also, you'll be able to park domains and add subdomains, which we won't get into here, but I will say that you can add up to 5 domain name email accounts. Then they'll give you plenty of storage to operate a small business email account, but you could also set your email up in Gmail so you don't have to worry about the storage at all. So I'm going to select the basic plan to buy, and I already have the domain name that I want, but since they give me a free domain name anyways, I'm just going to add a new one here. So I'll add Bluehost with a dash instead of without a dash, which I already have. Then in my opinion, it's always best to go with the .com if you can for the domain name that you want. So I'll select that, and it says that the domain name is available. So next we'll be able to fill out all of our account information. So I'm going to fly through this and blur out my account information so we can move down to the package information and select the length of the plan that we want. So as I mentioned earlier, one thing that I'd like you to be aware of is that when you select your website hosting account plan, once that plan ends, it's going to go to the price that's displayed before the low price. So that's $8 in this case. So my message in short is that if you know you're going to need the website hosting anyways, you might as well go with the longest term plan that you can. But since I have one of their higher end plans aside from this, and I'm just signing up for the tutorial, I'm going to go with the cheapest plan, which is 1 year. Then as for package extras, I don't recommend any of the stuff that they have here except for domain name privacy. So when you buy a domain name, it's kind of similar to buying a piece of real estate. There has to be an owner's information attached to it. And with domain name privacy, it'll make it so Bluehost information is attached, so people can't look up who owns the domain name with a simple who is search on the internet. So if you're a store owner with a public address, you might not care for domain name privacy, but for people registering their domain name from home, you might want to get domain name privacy protection. Okay, so now that we have the option selected, I'm going to drop down and enter my card information off screen. Then we can scroll down to there, I have read the agreement, and hit submit to buy our website hosting account. Okay, so once we hit submit, it's going to bring us to this page saying that our purchase was a success and we have received an email confirmation to the email that we signed up with, which we'll look to in just a moment. But first, let's select Create Account. Then we'll be able to add a password for our account. So I'll add my matching password in here and then select I agree and hit Create Account. Then this is going to bring us to the login page where we'll need to use the credentials that we just made with our username being our .com name and our password. Then the next page is going to be this little survey, so you can skip this or fill it out if you want. And then this page where it says tell us a little bit more about your site, we're going to skip through because we'll add this in WordPress itself. In addition to the theme option right here, let's skip through that as well. So now Bluehost is installing WordPress on our domain name automatically, and if you see the box 5707 or whatever the box number may be, that's going to be the temporary address for your website before WordPress is installed on your domain name, which will just take a couple of minutes. So for now, if we select View My Site, we're going to see that address that's displaying in the dropdown where it says box 5707 or whatever the box number is. So while that's installing WordPress on our domain name, what we're going to do is go over to our email account. Then we'll hit the Verify Our Email button, and that's going to set up our Whois contact information for our domain name to complete the process of signing up for the domain name and hosting account. Okay, so I've waited long enough for the domain name to display, but if yours doesn't display yet, you can still get started with building your website, and then Bluehost will move it over to your domain automatically once it's all set up. And one last thing to watch for is that it might take a little bit for the lock symbol to display next to your domain name, showing that you have your SSL certificate set up, but Bluehost will add that for you automatically as well. All right, so without further ado, let's select the WordPress button next to View My Site so we can log in to the WordPress Admin section called WP-Admin. So this is the section of WordPress where we're going to be controlling the way our website appears, and we'll be able to customize the website really however we want. And I'm going to explain what all of these different sections do. First though, we're going to get rid of a few programs that are installed for us automatically because we're not going to end up using them. So let's go down to the plugins menu item, and we're going to get rid of something called Jetpack, which I'm going to give you alternatives for later on. So let's go down and select Deactivate to deactivate the Jetpack plugin or program. And then we'll also deactivate the Bluehost plugin, which is really the Mojo marketplace, which would want to sell us different features for WordPress. Then we'll also include the deleting of something called Hello Dolly. So all we're going to be left with once we select Delete and Apply is going to be a plugin called Askamet Anti-Spam, which I think is completely necessary if you're running a blog where you allow comments to get rid of spam messages. So we'll come back to the plugins section later, and we'll be adding our own plugins, but first, let's go back to the WordPress dashboard so we can get a complete run through of the WordPress admin, starting with the dashboard. So the dashboard can be seen as your feed area where you can get quick access to different screen options that you can customize using the drop down up here, where you can see your blog post and comments at a glance, or you can create a quick draft for a new blog post, for example. When we installed WordPress, there was a blog post added for us automatically called Hello World, in addition to this comment down here. So we'll come back to the blog post and the comment later in the video because we're going to add our own custom blog post and get rid of this one. But for now, let's go over to the navigation here on the left side of the dashboard, and we're going to go all the way down to the settings. And if we click on settings, that's going to bring us to the general tab where we can customize some basic info about our website, including the title or name of our website and the tagline. So for the site title and the tagline, this is what we would see as the largest of text when we do a Google search for our website or when our website shows up in the search results. So if you're a local business, the tagline, you'll want to add a little description about your business, and that might include a keyword or a key phrase that someone might search for to find your business locally. In the general settings here, you can also change your admin email address and change the time zone to fit where you're located. So I'm going to change this to New York. Then for the time and the date settings, I'm going to leave this the same as you see right here. Then at the very bottom, we'll have something called Endurance Cache, which is a free caching service provided by Bluehost. And we're just going to leave that at the normal level and then select Save Changes. So once that's saved, let's drop down to writing, and we're going to leave everything the same here, but at the bottom, you'll notice that there's something called Update Services with a link to Ping-O-Matic, and that website will ping our new post when it's published, so search engines like Google will index our new posts and show them in search results. Next, under reading, we'll have the option to change our home page and have it as a static page, which would be for a basic business website, or we can have it as our blog post if we just want our website to be a blog. Next, under discussions, these are the settings for your blog post comments, which we're going to leave all the same. Then we have our media settings for the upload sizes for our images. Then underneath that, we have the permalinks page. So for permalinks, this is going to change the URL that's outputted when we create a new page or post. And for best practice when it comes to Google search engine optimization, we're going to select post name, which will simplify the URLs to just the wording. Then once we save that, the last setting underneath the settings tab will be for our privacy. So WordPress automatically creates a privacy policy page that we can use. So we'll just select use this page for now. Then moving back over to the WP admin menu on the left, the next selection that we have are tools. So tools you can use to import or export user data or plugin or page and post information from other websites if you want to import them to this website or export them so you have them available to move them to a different website, for example. So speaking of users, if we go to that tab, we'll see that we have the one user, which is us as an administrator. And then if we go up to add new user, we'll be able to add a new user with their username, email, their name and website information, and we can make them a subscriber, contributor, or author, editor, administrator, depending on what we want their role to be. And you can look up the different roles online to see what they would have access to based on the role that you select. Next, for plugins, we covered this briefly already, but you can get free plugins to ones that cost you hundreds of dollars a year, depending on what it is you want to add to your website in terms of its functionality. And we'll come back to plugins later on as we install a plugin for the blog that we're going to be building. But for now, let's take a look at appearance. So under appearance, we can change the website's theme, which is sort of the template from free ones to paid ones. We can also customize our theme here, add widgets, which are sections of the website which will appear on every page, like in the sidebar of a blog. We could change our website menus here, our background, and we can access theme editor, but I don't recommend using the theme editor here because any changes will be overridden by the theme once there's an update released for it. Also in WP admin, we have our WordPress blog comments, we have our pages, which we'll be editing. We have media for adding pictures, our blog post section where we can add new blog posts. And as I said before, we have the Hello World one added automatically by WordPress, which we see right here once it's open. And we have the comment further down the page. Also with our WordPress blog posts, we can add categories and we can add tags. So we're going to be adding a category later when we add our own custom blog posts once our blog is laid out on our website. Okay, so now that we've got a basic introduction to the WordPress admin and all of the options that we have in the sidebar, let's go over to appearance and themes so we can add the theme design of the website that we're building in this video. So right now, the WordPress default 2020 theme is installed, and we're also seeing the older default themes here on the right. So let's go up to Add New so we can add our own theme, and then we can select from the number of different free themes that are available to us. So to find the theme that we'll be using, let's go over to Popular, and this is going to show us the most popular themes used from the free themes to select from here in WordPress. So we're going to be using the most popular one outside of the WordPress themes themselves, which is going to be the Astra theme where it says today is great. So before we select install or hit install, let's select preview, and this is going to give us a really basic layout of a page for the theme. But if we look to the left, you're going to see that it has over 4,000 ratings and it's a 5-star rating. So you'll see why this is the most popular theme. So let's go and select install. And then if we give it a moment, we can select activate. So once we have the theme activated, we're going to have the option to use starter templates that are already designed for us once we select get started. So as you can see with the text here, it says, do you want to use or are you ready to use the starter templates? So let's hit get started. And once it's activated, it's going to give us the option to select from different page builders. So a lot of people prefer the Elementor page builder, but I'm actually going to go with Beaver Builder because if you're familiar with web development terms, you might find it a little bit easier to use. Though I don't recommend buying the premium version of either of these or the Astra theme because they each have their limitations. Okay, so once it's finished loading, we'll have all of these different templates built with Beaver Builder laid out for us and ready to use. The ones that say agency though, those are going to be ones that we'd have to pay for. So what we'll do is let's go up to the all selection, and I'm just going to make it the free one so we can see all of the free templates that we have to select from. So if you end up wanting to build a website using a template different from the one that we're using in this video, the concepts will be basically the same. So you'll have the knowledge just watching this video to build pretty much any of these templates that you want. But as you probably know already from the beginning of the video, we're going to be building the agency one that we see here off to the left. So I'm going to select that. Then we'll be brought to a page where we can see the pre-built pages, of which we have 4, but as we know already, we'll have 6 pages and a blog. So I'm going to show you how you can build your own pages without using their pre-built pages here. So let's select Import Complete Site, which is going to give us all 4 of the pages. And then we're going to see this pop up right here, which might take a moment, but we'll want to select all instances here except for Delete Previously Imported Site, because we don't have any previously imported sites. So that's going to take a moment to import. And once the import is complete, we're going to see the button where it says View Site. So let's select that, and that's going to open up a new page where we'll see that the complete demo website is now imported onto the home page of our domain name. And if we scroll through the site, we'll see all of the demo info that's been imported for us, which we'll be customizing. So let's briefly scroll through the rest of these 4 web pages here before we start adding our customizations and duplicating the website content, so we can have 6 total web pages. So you can spend more time looking through the pages once they're installed on your domain name if you want. And lastly, we have the contact page here with the contact form, which we'll be customizing, in addition to the Google map where we're going to add our own location to. Okay, so for the rest of the tutorial, you'll see me run back and forth between the WordPress dashboard and between the live page as we see right here. So I'm going to have dashboard open up in a new tab that you're not going to be able to see above. But once we open up dashboard, let's go over to pages. And what we're going to do is delete the sample page that's created for us. And we can leave the privacy page, which you can link to in the footer of your website if you want. But for now, what we're going to do so we can add more pages and use the content from our existing pages is we're going to install a really cool plugin so we can duplicate our pages. So as we know from the finished version of the website, we have a portfolio page and a reviews page, which we're going to add using the plugin that I'll show you in just a moment. So we'll want to use content from the different pages to add our portfolio and reviews page. So we'll want the portfolio section and the testimonials section for those pages. So let's navigate over to the plugins page from the WordPress dashboard, which I have opened up in a new tab. So I'm going to select plugins. And once we select that, we're going to see that we have a number of plugins installed for us automatically by importing that theme. But let's go up to add new plugin so we can add that one that I just mentioned to duplicate our content. So under plugins, we'll have the option to search, and I'm just going to add duplicate post. So even though the plugin is called duplicate post, we can duplicate posts, meaning blog posts or pages, in one click. So let's select install now. And once it's installed, we'll need to activate it as well. Okay, so now with it installed, we'll have that in our list of plugins that we see right here. And let's go over to our pages now. So once we drop down to our pages, we'll have the option to clone the page or add a new draft. But before we do that, let's check out the existing content that we imported for the theme so we know what we want to duplicate in order to create our portfolio and our reviews pages. So as we know, the home page has the portfolio section on it already, which we can duplicate and use for the portfolio. Then for the reviews page, we could always use the Meet the Team section or the What Our Clients Say reviews and testimonials. So let's go back over to our pages, and we're going to select to create a new draft of the home page, and we're actually going to create 2. So I'm going to open up one in a new tab, and then I'll select New Draft once more to open up a new draft in this tab. So once our new draft opens, we can X out of the block editor welcoming message, and then let's name this page Portfolio instead of Home. And one thing I like to check when creating a new draft or cloning a page is to make sure that the permalink or URL has the correct name, which it does with Portfolio, so we can select to publish the page now. So before we check out the portfolio page, let's add our reviews page. That way we can add them to our menu and access them through the website's homepage or through any page as long as we're seeing the navigation menu. So with the second draft, let's name this one Reviews, and then just make sure the permalink is correct. and we can select publish for this one as well. So now in order to get over to the menus section, we can use the reviews page or the portfolios page, and we'll want to select the 3 dots in the upper right hand corner so we can deselect the full screen mode option to see the WP admin sidebar on the left. So let's go down to appearance, then select menus, which is under widgets. And we'll be able to see the main menu that has the 4 different options already, or 4 different pages. So what we can do is simply select the reviews and the portfolio pages on the left, and then select add to menu. Then we'll be able to lay out the navigation menu however we want by dragging and dropping the different menu items. So I'll put the contact page last, and I'll put the portfolio menu item after the about page. And once we've done that, we can select save menu. So once it saves, we can go over to a tab with our website, and if we refresh it, we'll be able to see all 5 or 6 rather of our navigation menu items before we add our blog. So you might also ask about the request quote button and how we can change that or remove it. So that's what we're going to cover now. We're going to go over the logo in addition to other styles or elements that will be seen throughout the entire website. And we're also going to go into creating our own logo. So what you can do is select customize here, or we can go back to our admin and drop down to the customize button underneath appearance. And once we've done that, this is going to give us all of the available options that we can change with the free Astra theme that we have installed. So let's go into the global settings first and check out the typography. So here in our typography, we'll be able to change the font style and the size. So the font size is kind of small here with the theme. So I'm going to bump that up to 16 pixels instead of 14 pixels. And then everything else here, we're going to leave the same, or at least I am. And we have the option to check out the tablet version as well as the mobile version as we're making changes to the theme settings here on the left. So let's save this change by selecting publish, and then we can go into the headings style. So the headings I'm actually going to leave the same because I like the size and the appearance of the headings here. So let's back out of that. And then let's go into colors. And all of the colors here that you see with the sort of bluish purple shade for the buttons as the theme color and the black text, you can go ahead and change if you want, but I'm going to leave those the same as well. So let's back out of the base colors. Then the next setting underneath that will be the container. So the container, I'm going to have to flex the window up so you can see what the box container means. But the width is going to be what our content is contained inside of. Then with the setting being boxed, our content is only going to span up to 1200 pixels. So if you go on a really wide screen, you'll see that most sections except for the portfolio and the background image are going to be contained inside of the 1200 pixel boxed section. Then back to the settings, the next one is buttons. So with the buttons, we'll be able to change the color. So first off, we would have the face of the button, which is the white text and the purple background color. Then for hover, we have the black background color there. And for the border, we don't actually have a border on the button, but we do have a border radius, which means rounded corners. So if you increase the border radius, it'll be more rounded, and less border radius, it will be more boxy and less rounded. And then we can change the font that's inside of the button here. So we can change the capitalization as well as the letter spacing that we see down here. It doesn't really make sense to change the line height for a button. So what you would do instead is change the padding, which is the space inside of the button. So the padding would be sort of the blank space in between the text and the edges of the button if you change these values. So now the next setting that we can change is going to be the header setting, where we have the site identity, meaning the logo. So instead of just leaving this logo the same, or me just adding one that I've already designed, which I'm going to do eventually, but first I want to show you how we can design a logo from scratch, and then we can go about changing the logo that we're going to be using for our website design. So to start building our own custom logo, let's go up and do a Google search for something called PNG Tree or pngtree.com free logo. So this website right here has a bunch of different free icons that you can use with Creative Commons licensing, which means that you can use it for commercial purposes for your own business logo. So obviously you're going to see some that you can't use, like Instagram and Facebook icons, which are obviously licensed to those companies and won't be Creative Commons licensed images. But what I would recommend doing is searching through here to find an image that you like, that you want to place next to text inside of your logo, and make sure that the image is licensed under Creative Commons. Then once you find the one that you like, just sign up for a free account, and then you can download that image and get it ready for the next step here. So for the next step, we're going to go about creating our logo using a free online image editor called Pixlr, where we don't have to download anything and we can use their free app right on their website. Just select Pixlr X in their menu to get to the free image editing app. So let's go down and select Create New on the left-hand side, and then we'll need to add some dimensions to the new image that we're going to create. So let's make it 700 for the width, and then we'll make it 190 pixels for the height. And I'm going to give this a name and just call it logo, and then we'll hit create. Then to import the logo image that you just got, we'll go down to the last icon on the left to add an image, and then we'll go up to browse, and from there we can access our downloads. So I'm going to use this image that I have prepared for the video already instead of an image from the PNG tree website. Then we'll select Add Current to add the icon instead of creating a whole new image. And from there we can place the image where we want it. So I'm going to fit this inside of here with some space off to the edges. Then we can always resize the image as a whole once we add our text, which we'll do now. So I'm going to select the T for adding text and select Add New Text. Then we'll have the option to customize the text that it says here. So I'm going to write W3 Newbie, which is one of my websites. And once we add the text we want, we can customize the style of the text. So the text style in the actual logo is called Forte, but I'm not going to look for that here. I'm just going to add some basic styled text using the ASAP font style, and then we can adjust the size to fit next to the icon that you selected. And once you get the sizing and positioning of your text along with the style set, you can adjust the color in addition to some other settings, but I'm just going to leave it as it is right here and select Save. That way I can export and download the image, and we'll want to use the PNG file type. That way we have a transparent background to our image. Okay, so now that we have our logo downloaded, let's go back over to the website to replace the existing logo. So I'm going to hit Change Logo, and then we'll be able to drag and drop our file that we downloaded from Pixlr. So I'll drag that over and drop it in, then hit Select in the lower right-hand corner, and we'll have the option to crop our image. So I'm going to do away with a little bit of the space off to the sides, so there isn't too much white space around the logo. So once we import the logo, we'll have the option to add one separately for Retina devices. So on Retina devices, you might want it twice the size of the original logo, so it's nice and clear. But the size of the logo that we created is large enough for it to be clear on Retina devices, so we'll just keep the single logo upload. Then, as you can see, we'll be able to adjust the logo width to our liking, but this logo that I created in the video with Pixlr, I'm actually going to get rid of, and I'm going to use a cleaner looking logo, which is my original logo for my website W3 Newbie, because I didn't want to take the time to create a whole new nice design during the video. So once your logo is uploaded, also you have the option to change the title text, which is the text that appears when you hover over the logo. And then you can add alternative text as well, which would be the text that would appear if the logo image didn't show up for some reason. So as we know, once the logo is all cropped, we'll select Crop Image, then adjust the logo width. And on this page, we also have the option to change the site title and the site tagline, which we can also do in the WordPress settings as we know. So I'll select Publish, and let's move on to the next setting, which is going to be the header setting. But before we do that, I'm going to refresh the page so we can see how it looks with the logo added and our navigation menu links. So with the navigation menu, we'll have a couple of different options for the layout. So the one that we have right now is sort of the standard layout with the logo on the left, but you can also put the logo above the links or put the logo to the right side of the links. But we'll leave it with the standard logo to the left, and let's check out the next setting, which is going to be for the menu links. So with the menu link, this is where we'll be able to change the button that says request a quote. So we can remove it by just saying none to have just our menu links themselves, or we can add a search icon off to the right of the menu, which I'm going to leave up for now until we add the blog link later on. And then further down the settings, we have the option to add a border to our menu. We can add dividers to our menu links, and we can adjust the breakpoint for the menu. So the breakpoint is where the menu is going to go from the mobile version with the drop-down menu feature to the full width version of the menu. So typically with menu breakpoints, they're going to be somewhere between 700 pixels and 900 or 1000 pixels. I think a good rule of thumb is once your website flexes down to where the menu links are about to overlap with the logo, that's where you want your breakpoint to be to transition into the mobile version of the menu. So depending on the number of menu links you have, in this case with 6 menu links and the search icon, somewhere around 900 pixels seems to work with it flexing to the mobile version just before it hits the logo. We'll also have the option to customize the drop-down menu button, which appears in the square form now, and it's kind of behind the settings marker right now, so we're not able to see the 3-tiered hamburger menu. But if I go over to the full width version, you'll be able to see the hamburger menu icon inside of the drop-down. And instead of having the solid purple color, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to the outline, so it's white inside, and then we have the boxy feel, but you can also change the border radius for the button itself with the outline or the fill version to have it round instead of having the boxy feel. So with that, I'm going to select publish so we can save this outline version of the drop-down menu button. And then let's back out of this setting. And for the transparent header setting, we're going to leave that the same. So let's move on to the next setting, which will be customizing our breadcrumbs. So if you're not familiar with breadcrumbs, breadcrumbs are the sort of title and maybe a short message about the page that you would see just under the navigation menu. And we're not going to use that throughout the website at all because it looks pretty awful on home pages. And we're going to have the background image with the title displaying what page we're on for the pages other than the home page. So moving down the settings, we'll have the blog setting next, which we're going to cover later in the video when we go over adding our blog to the menu, as well as having it as sort of our 7th page in the navigation menu. And we'll also be editing the sidebar settings and going over that later on. So we'll leave that the same, but let's drop down to the footer now, which is where we'll be seeing the footer widgets displaying. So we can always access the widgets through the WP Admin dashboard on the left-hand side underneath Appearance, but we're going to edit the widgets here using the Astra settings in this case. Before we get to actually editing the footer widgets, let's edit the socket, which is the info at the very bottom of the website. So in this case, they're calling it the footer bar, and I'm going to remove the powered by, which is where a web designer would take credit for designing the website with a backlink to their own. And we'll just leave it as copyright, and then the year followed by the website address or the name of the company. And we can always remove the site title if we want it to be lowercase or different from the site title text. So once we have that to our liking, let's select publish, and let's move on to the next setting, moving down the sidebar here in the Astra settings, which is going to be the menus. So we already have our one menu set for the menu at the top of the website. And as we know, if we want to check out the menus through the WP Admin dashboard, we can go to Appearance followed by Menus, and that's where we're going to see the top nav menu that's named in the Astra settings with our 6 navigation menu links. Okay, so moving on, let's drop down to the footer widgets now, which is just under widgets, and this is where we have the footer widget areas 1 through 4, starting with the first one where we have the image for the white version of the logo. So we didn't make a white version, but if you do have one, you can upload it here. In this case, I'm going to remove the white space logo that's here. So now we're left with the text and the icons. So for the text, if you're making a small business website that's local, one thing that's very important for search engine optimization is to have NAP information. NAP meaning name, address, phone number in the footer of your website that matches business listings that your company is listed on. So that's a pretty important factor for local search engine optimization. So you want to have your company name, the phone number, the city, state, zip, and then from there you can start adding other things like linking to social media pages. So as we see, we already have some social media icons set up for us with the Astra social profiles, but let's get rid of the Google Plus one because that actually doesn't exist anymore. So I'm going to delete that. And if we want to add a new icon, we can just select to add item. And once you click into any of the icons, this is where you would add the link to your social media page. I'd also recommend having the target open up in a new page so people still have your website open even though they open up your social media tab in a new window. And I'm going to add an additional icon here just to show you how to. So I'll add the YouTube icon and I'm going to leave all of the settings the same to match the others. Then I'll go down and hit apply. Then once it's applied, we can go up and select publish. And that will save our YouTube icon in place of Google+. So moving on to the next set of widgets with footer widget area 2, we're going to change the important links that are listed. So instead of having the important links up top, to match the first widget, what I'll do is simply write our services. Then I'm going to delete the important links text, which is above. Okay, so once that's removed, let's add some services here instead of linking to the home page, about page, and so on. So for the first service, since we're making a website design and development website, let's add graphic design as the first list item. And then for the link, all of the links, I'm just going to send people to the services page. Obviously, if you have a website with pages specific to the graphic design and so on, we can send them there. But I'll use the services link here to send people to the general services page. And whoops, that was actually, graphic design was for the first, so I'll make this one website design. And then for the third, let's make that web development. And for the fourth, let's make that app development. And I'll link again to the services page. And you can also select to open up in a new page or the same page. And you can add an icon or change the icon that's next to the links. So in this case, we're using the arrow that's there, but you can also customize it to the type of service with design or with development as 2 examples. But I'll leave it with the arrows and go down to select apply. So now we have our graphic design, web design, development, and app development. So now let's move on to the third widget section for the footer with footer widget area 3. And in the same case, I'm going to delete the useful links text at the top and add website pages here. And what we'll do with this section is let's link to the actual website pages, starting with the About Us page. So I already have the services link set up, and I'll just use that to change it to About. Then for the second page, that's going to be our services page once again. And then we'll link to the portfolio page. Then lastly, we'll link people to our reviews page, and I'll change the link to say reviews. So with that, we can go down and hit apply, and that's going to save it for us. So there we have the links to our website pages. And for the last footer section, what we're going to do instead of using links that we see there is we're going to add our blog post. So footer widget area 4, let's go down and let's select add a widget, and then we can scroll down and select recent posts to display our recent blog posts. So I'm going to change the title to blog posts, and then let's limit the number of posts to 2 so it doesn't span too far down the page past the height of the links that we have displaying in the other widgets. And we can also get rid of the link icons, so I'll hit remove for that, as well as the get in touch text, which I'll select remove for. So now we're just left with our blog post. And as we see, we have the one that WordPress added for us automatically where it says hello world. So if we had a blog set up for us already, we could just drop down to the homepage settings, which we can also access through the dashboard settings with WP Admin, and we can add our post page, which would be our blog page. So since we don't have that already, let's go back to pages in WP Admin, and we're going to add a new page, which we're going to set up as our post page for our blog. So let's add blog as our title, and then all we'll need to do is hit publish because we're not going to add any editing to this page. We're just going to mark it as our post page. So first, let's move over to menus so we can add our blog to the menu items, which will appear after the contact link. And once we add the blog link, let's select Save Menu. And now if we take a look at the website, and if we refresh it, we'll see that we have the blog link displaying next to the contact link and the search feature. So let's move back over to the Astra settings, and we'll just need to refresh the page so we can see the blog from the pages that we can select from. And I'll just go back into the homepage settings, and then we'll select the blog page as our post page. And there we have our first blog post displaying that, as we know, WordPress added for us automatically, so we can publish that to save our blog as the post page. So next, let's go over to our posts and edit the post that WordPress added for us automatically. Then once we're inside of it, let's change the name of the post to My First Blog Post. Then this is called the Gutenberg editor, so we can change the text here by just selecting that and writing what we want, or we could add an image or page break and a bunch of different features using the WordPress Gutenberg editor here with the blogs. So in this case, I'm going to add an image, and what I'll do is I'll select the office image that's seen at the top of the pages other than the home page. Then I'll hit select to add the image, and just to add some more content to the page, I'm going to add a paragraph section underneath the image. And for the text, I'll pull from the paragraph up here and copy that, then paste it in a few times just for filler text. And while editing your blog post, as we saw earlier, we have some options for the screen settings. So if we select the three bars, we can add our toolbar up top, we can have spotlight mode, or we can go into the full screen mode. One thing I'll also do is I'm going to change the URL for the blog post. And a quick tip for blog posts is if you're familiar with keyword research with search engine optimization, you don't want to stuff keywords that don't really fit and make sense, but you can add keywords in your URL to help with search engine optimization as well as your blog post title. We can also add an image that would show up on the post page, so the actual blog page, before we click into the blog by adding a featured image. So I'll use the same office space photo that's used in the actual blog post content, and then let's select Update to change or save our blog post updates. And now if we go and click into the blog post page, we're going to see that we have the featured image above our blog post title and the preview text along with the Read More button. Also, the widget at the bottom has changed to reflect the new blog post title. Okay guys, so I'm going to pause the video right here because I added an update and addition to the blog section of the website once the website design was completed. So you may see a few changes to the website we haven't completed yet, and then we'll get back to the original website design with the main pages once the blog is completed. So right now, what I'm going to show you how to do is to add categories to your blog posts. So if your website covers different topics, you might want to have different categories depending on what your blog post is about. So let's drop down to Posts, then select Categories, and I'm just going to call this category Blog. So we'll have that instead of the inherent uncategorized category that WordPress adds for us. So now let's go back over to our posts so we can access the My First Blog Post, and we're going to change the category under Categories to Blog from Uncategorized. Then one other thing that you can do is add some keywords under tags, but this is really only effective if the keywords that you want to add to your blog post might be misspelled by the reader. Google kind of ignores this now because people stuff so many keywords in tags historically. So with that set, let's hit update to save our new category and the tags that we've added. Then let's go down to appearance and Astra settings so we can set the blog sidebar settings. So they're going to have blog sidebar settings here at the top. So we'll select that, and that's going to open up the sidebar settings, which we skipped over earlier. And then for the blog post, what we're going to do is set it to right sidebar. And then for the archives page, which means the post page, we're going to set a right sidebar as well. So now if we save it, we'll see that we have the sidebar displaying with a bunch of different widgets that we can customize. So to customize the widget, similar to what we did with the footer settings, I'm going to go over to the WP admin widgets, and here we'll see all of the main sidebar widgets displaying next to the footer widgets. So from here, we can go about deleting some of the widgets, or we can add widgets. So I'm going to delete the meta widget, the categories widget, and then the archives widget, just leaving the search bar, recent posts, and recent comments. Then you can select from the different widgets that we have here. The thing with Astra is I think that some of the features when it comes to widgets might be for the Pro version. So what we'll do is we're going to add our own social icon widget manually. To do that, let's go down to plugins. And once we're on that page, we'll select add new. And now we can do a search for plugins. So I'm going to search for sidebar social media for social media icons. And I'm just going to select the most popular one, which appears to be this one right here. So I'll select install. And then once it's installed, we can select activate. Then we'll just need to give it a second to load. But once it does, we're going to end up on this screen right here. So I'll select that we are going to skip this because I don't want any of their extra stuff. I just want to use their social media icons. So here we have all of the social media icons selected, and I'll just select deactivate here for all these different things. So we'll just select the social media icons that we want to use. And then once we scroll down the page, we should have an option to select the pages that we want them to go to. So for the Facebook page, for example, let's add our Facebook URL. So that'll be https and then facebook.com. And then for mine, Bluehost isn't actually my page. You would go to Bluehost WP instead of Bluehost. I don't know who has that page. And the same is true for Twitter. That's not my actual page. And then we can go down and select save. Okay, and actually it looks like it wants us to fill out all of the URLs for the social media icons before we save it. So I'm just going to go up and deselect everything except for Facebook and Twitter for now, but you can fill out the rest of these to your social media pages if you want. I'll just save this with the 2 social media icons. Then for step 3, we'll select that we want to show them as a widget, and then we can save it. So with that, let's go back over to appearance and widgets. And then we'll have the option in the left-hand side here. We just need to find it. So let's scroll down, and it's going to be the ultimate social media links. So we can select add widget to the main sidebar, and then we can save it. And I'll leave the text where it says follow and like us. So now if we save the widget and take a look at the blog post page, we'll have the sidebar with the social media icon widgets displaying. So feel free to add more sidebar widgets to your blog, but that's going to do it for the update to the blog post. So let's get back to building the rest of the website, and you're going to see the blog post display at full width because this was before the blog post was changed to the settings that we just saw. So now let's move over to the Astra settings and cover the last bit of the settings, which is adding custom CSS. So if you're not familiar with CSS, you don't have to worry about this, but in my case, I don't really like the size of the navigation menu links, and I didn't see an option here in the free Astra theme version, so I'm going to inspect the menu links and get the CSS style declaration so I can change the size of the menu links. So that's going to be the main header dash menu A style declaration. So I'll paste that in with the period representing the class and the A for the link. And then let's change the font size, and I'm going to increase it to 17 pixels. And I think that looks good at 17, so I'll select Publish to save it there. Then one other thing that we'll do, since we added another menu item, is I'm going to adjust the width at which the menu collapses to the mobile version. So that's going to be inside of the header and the primary menu setting where we can adjust the breakpoint width. But before we do that, I'm going to change the menu to get rid of the search icon. So we just have the menu links. And now if we go down, let's adjust the menu breakpoint. And I'm going to cheat here by using Command-Shift-4 on my Mac to get the width here, which it says 706 plus the logo at around 200. So I'll make it around 850 and see where that ends us up. So now if I save it, whoops, that was actually the border radius. So I'm going to undo that and change the menu breakpoint to 860. And now if we flex the window down, this should be about right. Yep, that looks good. So unless you have a much wider logo with the 7 navigation menu links, the 860 pixel width breakpoint seems to work. All right, so let's X out of all of the Astra settings because we've run through all of them now and we're ready to move on to editing the actual pages. One other tip actually for the blog post is the plugin that was unactivated or left deactivated, the Astra spam protection. I highly recommend this for blogs if you're allowing people to leave comments because this is going to get rid of tons of spam comments that you would have to otherwise edit and remove from your blog. So Astra is completely free. You'll just have to set up your account. So just click through set up your account twice and then choose the name your price option, which is what I use. And then you'll be able to slide the yearly price down and you can contribute to it if you want. That's up to you. You might consider getting started for the free version. And then if you really appreciate the plugin, you can add a little bit to the yearly amount to donate to the plugin essentially. So once you sign up, you're going to get an API key that you'll just need to enter in here and then select Connect with API key. And that's all you need to do to get rid of tons of spam comments, which as I said, would be on your WordPress blog without it. So with that, I'm going to delete the one comment from the WordPress blog so I can show you just an example of editing the comments. So with that, we have our blog and all of the sections of the website that will be added to the pages automatically, including the logo, the navigation menu, the blog widgets that we built or customized, in addition to the footer widgets and the socket section at the very bottom of the website with the copyright info. So now we're ready to start customizing the actual pages. And as we know, we're going to be building out the portfolio page and the reviews page, but first let's start at the home page. So we're ready to get an introduction to Beaver Builder while we adjust the content on the home page to get started with the adjustments of the main pages outside of the blog. So once we select Beaver Builder, it's going to give us this pop-up asking us if we want a basic run through of it. And I'm going to select to skip it, but you're welcome to pause the video and check that out if you want. The first thing that you'll notice is as we're scanning through the content here, all of the different elements are going to have this editor that pops up. So we can click on any one of the elements throughout the entire website outside of the main sections, which we added that appear on every page, like the logo and the navigation, and we can edit these sections. So we can edit the width, as you see here. We can edit the text, and we can edit the background, all types of different aspects of it. As a reminder, make sure that you select the Done button in the upper right-hand corner to save the changes that you make. So let's start with this text that appears above the main heading. So we'll select the wrench to change the settings of this heading. And I'm going to change the text to WordPress is the best website building platform ever! Exclamation point. And then I'll go down and save it. And there we have our first change to the home page. Next, let's change the heading text that appears underneath it where it says Stunning Business Website. So I'll change this text to say Build an Amazing WordPress Website! Exclamation point. Then for the subheading where it says create your own website in minutes, no coding skills required, I'm going to leave that the same. So I'll hit save, and there we have the change of our text. So next, let's change the button. So instead of this saying more info, I'm going to change the button to say start now. And that's already in all caps. But what we can do is we could change the style if we want. So if we move down through the styles, we'll be able to adjust the border radius and the shadow. So here I'm going to add some box shadow to it, which is going to give it a little bit of shadow around it. And we'll need to add a blur radius in order for that to show up. So now we can see a little bit of darkness around the button. And if you wanted to change the padding for the button, you can adjust it here to space out the basically the white space or purple space in between the edge of the button and the text. Then for the typography, we have the option to increase the font size. So we can make it quite large, or we can make it a little bit smaller if we want. And I'll save it there to adjust the Start Now button. And whoops, it looks like it's lowercase now, so I'm just going to make this all caps instead of going through the settings to make it uppercase again. And then I'll save it. And there we have the Start Now button. So now let's go about editing the main background image. So I want to select the main wrapping element that we see right here. So I'll select the wrench, and then we can go down and we can edit the type of background that we're seeing. So if we want a pure color background, we can add that, or a gradient with one color fading into another in addition to a video. But I'm going to keep this set to the photo. And then what we'll do is we're going to adjust the background image photo. So let's select edit for the photo. And instead of using one of the photos that's pre-installed for the theme, what I'm going to do is I want to share my favorite website with you to get Creative Commons photos for free that you don't have to add any attribution for, that you can use for commercial purposes. So that's a website called pexels.com, and you can search for pretty much anything you want. I already see website design up here, so I'll just use that as an example. Then you can scroll endlessly for different photos that you want to use on your website. What I've done is I've already got one saved, and that's going to be the woman office photo with this woman here drinking a cup of coffee on the laptop, which I think has a nice space off to the side to add text to. We're just going to have to reverse the image horizontally. So I'll download the image for free here. Then it's going to give us the option to thank or credit the photographer. And what I'm going to do with the image is import it into the same Pixlr editor that we used earlier to design the logo. So once we're back in the Pixlr X editor at pixlr.com, let's select Create New, and then open image, and we can grab the image from pexels.com, then hit create new, and we're going to go over to the left and select the image properties at the very top. That way we can flip the image horizontally, and that's going to leave some nice space off to the side for the text that's on the home page. So I'll hit save, and then I'm going to increase the quality and download that as a JPG file, which is good when you don't need a transparent background because that's going to be the smallest file type. Also, a quick tip for search engine optimization is to compress your images so they take up less space and there's less load time. And once the image is uploaded, the image file name we could actually optimize for Google search. We could optimize the title with keywords and descriptions for Google search, the alternative text, and then we'll hit select photo, and I'm going to go down and hit save. And there we have the background photo. Okay, so that was a simple example of how you can add and edit your own background photo to the website. I'm actually going to set the background image back to the original, which I like a little bit more. Typically, the placeholder images for themes are going to look pretty nice because there was some time that went into selecting the image. So once I have it back, I'm going to save that. And then the next thing that we're going to do is I'm actually going to show you how you can change the image around a little bit more. So right now we have this in a relative position, meaning it's just going to be scrollable. But what we could do is we could change the image attachment to have a fixed state. So when we scroll down, the image stays fixed. Just note that the image dimensions and placement of it is going to be a little bit adjusted when we do that. We also have the option to add an overlay color on top of our image. Just make sure that you add the transparency to it here. The only problem with this is we're not going to have the flow into our white menu at the top. We would need to add a transparent menu for that to look proper and to maybe make our menu links lighter in color. So those are a couple of other steps that you can take to adjust and customize the homepage. You could also experiment a little bit more with the Beaver Builder page builder to add more customizations, but let's move down to the next part of the website underneath the homepage image and change some of the content beneath it around. So let's change this heading text where it says, "How can we help you?" to website design with WordPress. Then the separator you can change by selecting the separator button here in the editor, and you can also change the text, but I'm going to select save and move down to the next sections. So down to these next sections, for each one, we can select them individually and we can change the heading, the text underneath, as well as the icon. So let's select edit this list item, and we see the design text, which we can change right there, as well as the text that appears underneath it with this lorem ipsum dummy text. Then if we go over to icon/image, we have the option of changing the icon. So just note that not all of the icons here are the same size, so you'd want to select the icons to match the size here, or add your own icons. Okay, so I'm going to X out of this and say cancel to leave it the same. And then let's scroll down the website. So we have the portfolio section with the different portfolio images that we can customize and add buttons to the portfolio pages, or the portfolio page generally. We have the testimonials and the meet the team section, then the call out section at the very bottom. So I'm going to leave all of this the same on this page. I'll leave it up to you if you want to make changes to it, but I'm going to go up to done to make sure that the changes were saved and then hit publish. Okay, so now once we've done that, it's going to be saved and our home page of our website will reflect the changes that we made. So let's go over to the About page. So we're going to leave the About page the same, but what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the breadcrumbs that we see on the About page, the Services page, and the Contact page, and we're going to add that to the Portfolio page manually. So we're going to go through a little bit of an exercise building a full width background image section with titles and text. So let's select Beaver Builder at the top of the website here on the Portfolio page. And then we're going to look to the right-hand corner and hit the plus sign and go over to rows. And we're going to add a full width column. So we'll just select one column. Then let's go in and edit the row settings. And we're going to change it from fixed width to full width, in addition to changing the content width to full width. Then we'll go down to type for the background and change that to photo. And we can go into photos to add our background image. Then if we go over to the About Us page, we'll see that it's going to be that office setting photo. So we'll select that image. So once we have our photo selected, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a background overlay color. But instead of selecting the color here and trying to match it to the other pages, what we can do is let's inspect the background image here on the About page so we can just match up the settings exactly to what they have here with the starter template page. So we can match it from the top. So we'll see that the width is full width and then the content width is actually fixed. So I had that at full width. So I'm going to go over and change that to fixed. And once that's set, we can work our way down through the settings to match it up to the other page. Okay, so looking down through the settings, everything seems to match up until we get to the background color overlay. So let's grab the color that they use for the overlay. So it looks like it's black and it's going to have a transparency of 0.6 or 60%. So we can just copy that and paste that in here, or we can add the black color and then make it a 60% transparency on our own. Then moving down through the settings, we should have some padding and spacing. So over in advanced, This is going to show us the spacing around our content. So we have 120 pixels of padding top bottom and 20 left right around the heading and text content. So let's go over to advanced and I'll add 120 pixels top, 20 right, 120 bottom, and then 20 pixels left. So now if we save it, we should be matched up all except for the heading and the text. So our spacing looks right, except for we have the little blocks off to the sides, which we can add afterwards. First, let's copy this about us heading. So if we check this out, we see that it is a regular heading. So let's go up to the plus, modules, then ultimate add-on Beaver Builder modules, and we'll select the heading module off to the right underneath the button and drag that over. Then what we can do is go about matching this to the original version on the About page. So let's go over to typography and we see that this is a heading 3, but on the About page it's a heading 1. And all of the other settings here look like they're probably going to be the same, except for the color. So we'll make that a heading 1. And for the text color, we'll make it white, which is all Fs for the hexadecimal value. And then let's go back and let's add the text under general to say our portfolio. Okay, so now with the portfolio heading added, let's add the text that appears underneath that, but that's going to be in a 3-column section because we have those little boxes off to the side. So what we'll do is we're going to go and let's add a new row inside of the row that we already have. So let's go over and let's hit the plus sign and then go over to rows and we'll add a 3-column row. And then what we can do is we can drag these to adjust the width to match the original. So let's see what the width is with these. So if I just grab this, we'll see that it's 80%. So that would mean that the sides are 10% each. So we can just drag this over and make it 10%. And then we can drag this over to make sure that it's 80 and 10 on this side. Okay, so now we should match up to the finished version. So let's add a heading using the UABB module. So I'll drag that over and paste it in. Then what we can do is grab the heading text from the About page. So I'm going to select this element right here where it says Welcome to Space. And I'm just going to copy the dummy text actually because we can add a different heading than Welcome to Space. So I'll come over here and let's change the typography to heading 4 to match the original. And for the heading text, I'll add this is our About page. And whoops, it's actually the portfolio page. And then I'm going to make sure that the text appears in white by adding all Fs for the hex value, and everything else should look good. Whoops, except for the text underneath it is black in color. So let's change the text color for that too, to come in the white shade. All right, so now we can save it. And there we have our portfolio title, except for the space is slightly different, but that's all right. We can adjust it. If you want, you can go back and match it up exactly to the original, but I'm going to leave it as is with the spacing for the heading and text. Okay, so now for the fun and easy part, which is getting rid of sections on the pages that we don't want. So let's go back up to the Beaver Builder editor, and we're going to X out of the landing page, which is also on the home page. And then for this text where it says, how can we help you? I'm going to change this to welcome to our portfolio. Then I'll save that. And let's go down the page. And what I'm going to do is I'll get rid of the portfolio heading because we already know we're on the portfolio page. And then this row right here, in addition to, let's get rid of a whole row of the icon, heading, and text sections. So we're left with one of those before we get down to the portfolio images. Then underneath the portfolio image section, I'm going to get rid of the logos in addition to the Meet the Team section. Okay, so now with all this content removed, let's go back up and I'm going to select Done to wrap up the portfolio page and hit Publish. So now with that, we have the home page, the About page, the portfolio page. We have the services page set, which I'm going to leave the same because I think it looks pretty good with the content that was added to the theme for us originally. Then for the reviews page, as we know, we have the home page here, which I was going to edit and match the portfolio heading as well as the breadcrumbs on the rest of the pages. But I think what we'll do instead, because we already went through the process of creating the breadcrumbs with the background image for the portfolio page, is let's go over to the portfolio page and we're going to use the clone copy as a new draft option up at the top to create a new draft of the portfolio page, which will then turn into the reviews page. So on the left, I'm going to open up pages in a new tab, and then I'll go into the reviews page that we have currently. And what you could do is you could delete this completely, or you can change the URL slug and update it. That way we can create a new page. So the portfolio duplicate that we just created, we'll change that to reviews. This way we have the reviews URL available to us, and then I'm going to move to trash the one that we just added the 6 at the end. Okay, so now with that added to trash, feel free to empty and delete the trash here on the pages page, but I'm going to go over to appearance and menus because we're going to need to change the reviews link in the menu. So I'll delete this one and then select the new reviews page and move that in. Then select Save. And now if we go back over to the website, we'll have the reviews page updated, but we're not going to see a difference here at first glance unless we look at the URL because we have the same portfolio title. So let's go into Beaver Builder and edit the portfolio heading to say Reviews. Then once that's saved, I'm going to go down the page and adjust the content. So this is the reviews page, and we'll want to duplicate some of the testimonials. So I'll just hit duplicate here twice, and then let's get rid of our portfolio section as well as the portfolio images right here. So we're left with the what our clients say, or we could just write what our customers say and change that text and then hit save. And moving down the page to make it so the reviews will be a little bit more spread out, let's add a 2-column section so we don't have the single column for the reviews. So I'll just paste that in here so it takes up more width outside of this review section right here. And then we can just drag these and drop these into the 2-column section. So we have 3 reviews laid out. And then I'll want to add some actual review text to this. So I'm going to go back over to the home page and copy some text, and then go back over to the reviews page and paste that in. So I'll paste it in and then hit save and save once again. And I'm going to duplicate this a couple times and use this instead of the ones without the text underneath. So I'll drag these over and then delete the ones without the text. Then after deleting this last one, what we could do to fill out the page a little bit more is simply duplicate the last 2 of the reviews. And that does it for the reviews page. So I'll select Done and then Publish to save the Beaver Builder page. And then let's go over to the portfolio page because what I want to do is add more portfolio images. So I'm going to go up to Beaver Builder here on the portfolio page and then just duplicate the portfolio images. And actually, I'm going to do away with the buttons on the portfolio images first. And then I'm going to duplicate them. So once these are all deleted, I'll just select duplicate to fill out more portfolio images. And what we can do so they don't match the ones above is just transfer them around so it looks more full without the same pictures on top of one another. And I'll just drag that one over here. Okay, so that looks good. And I'll go back up and hit done on the portfolio page. So once that's published and we scroll around, I think that the portfolio page is to my liking, and I hope it is to yours too, but you can always add more customizations. So now the last page that we're going to be customizing is the Contact Us page, which As we know from the beginning of the video, we'll be customizing the contact form and sending it to our own email address. So let's go up and select Beaver Builder to edit the Contact Us page. Then once it loads, the first thing that I'm going to do is get rid of the logo section that appears underneath the breadcrumbs background image. And our main focus on this page will be the contact form before we get down to the Google Map. So for now, I'm going to hit done to save the changes of getting rid of the logo section because we're going to be editing our contact form elsewhere. So let's go up to WP Admin and go to the dashboard, which I have open up in a new page. And then we'll go down to the WP Forms link. So here in WP Forms, we have a contact form that was added for us automatically with the installation of the theme files that were set up for us already. So if we inspect the element here in Beaver Builder, we're going to see a short code with the WP Forms ID 6 for that contact form that we're going to be editing. So let's go back over to WP Forms, and then this is our basic contact form. So we have name, email, message, and let's add a drop-down so we can select from different services that we offer. So once we add the drop-down, we'll have the option to customize it off to the left. And instead of it saying drop-down, I'm going to write select a service. Then for the first choice, we'll add web design or website design. Then graphic design for the next. And for the third, I'll add web development. And similar to the name and email sections, we're going to make this a required field. Then we can go up to the right-hand corner and select Save. Now that we have our form field set, let's change the contact form text that appears above the contact form. So instead of it saying that, let's change this text to say Get in Touch. And that will match up with the text on the left-hand side of the contact form. And then further down this page, what we can do is we can change the button text to say Send Message, which people will click on to get in touch. And then while it's sending, we can change this text underneath to say Sending Message instead of Sending. Okay, so with that, let's leave the settings underneath the same with the anti-spam enabled and go up to the upper right again and select Save. Then what we'll do is we'll drop down to notifications so we can add the email address that we want the message sent to. So I'll change this email to drew@drewhost.com without the dash, and then we'll also want to change the from email. So the from email is important to match up to the domain that the email address is coming from using the contact form. So in this case, I would want to add drew-host, but I don't actually have that email set up. So I'll just add drew@drewhost.com. Then we have the reply to field. So that's going to reply to the email address that was submitted in the form. And the message will include all of the fields filled out on the contact page. Then lastly, what we can do is change the actual email subject that will appear once we received an email from the contact form on the website. So I'm going to change this to say new entry, new contact form message, or we can just get rid of the new entry and have new contact form message, which I think looks a little cleaner. Okay, so that's all for the settings for our contact form. So I'll select Save. And now we can go back over to the contact page and give it a test drive. So let's refresh the page. And once it refreshes, we'll see the changes to the contact form with the select a service option and the send message button. So let's fill it out. So I'm just going to quickly write my name. Then I'll select the service and I'll add my email. Then I'll fill out a quick message. Then we can select the send message button and we'll see the sending message text that we added. Okay, so now with the message sent and the successfully submitted message, I'm going to go over to Gmail where I have my domain name email set up on the account. And there we have the message that was submitted from the contact form with the new contact form message subject, the name, service, email, and the message. Okay, so now with our contact form completely set and shown to work, let's move down to the last official section of the website that we're going to be customizing, and that's the Google Map on the contact page. So if we inspect the element here for the Google Map, we'll see that there is an iframe presented for us. And if I scale this open a little bit, we'll be able to see the URL for the Google Map. So we'll just want to replace that URL with the location that we want. The only problem is that if we just go over to Google Maps and grab the URL from that page, it's not going to work for us. So what we'll want to do is go over to a website called embedgooglemap.net. Then all we'll need to do is type in the location or the name of the business that has a place on Google Maps. So I'll type in New York City as an example here, and then I'm going to go down and select Get HTML Code. So we're not able to copy just the URL here, which is all we need. So we'll just copy the whole thing and then paste that over in the Bootstrap HTML window. Then once we have it pasted, we'll need to narrow it down to just the URL needed for the map, starting with https maps.google.com. And when you have it narrowed down to just that URL, we can copy that and replace the existing URL inside of the map that's already added for us with that URL that we just retrieved. So once that's done, I'm going to select Save. And there we have our map of New York. So we can go up top and select Done and publish our contact page. Okay, so with that, we have all of our website sections completed, including 6 pages and a blog. So let's go back over to the home page. And as we see, we have our home page completed with our footer section, and we have all 7 navigation menu links. So let's take a quick look at how the website appears on mobile devices. And one thing that I noticed here, and I wanted to change as a last part of this video, is that I want to have a light background to the text on mobile because it kind of looks funny with the picture of the guy right behind the text. So let's change that really quickly. So I'm here inside of Beaver Builder for the home page, and what I'm going to do is select the column that appears off to the left here. So we'll select Edit Column, and then I'm going to select Column Settings. And what we can do for this column is add a transparent white background color. So I'll select Color, then I'll make it all white with all 6 Fs for the hexadecimal value, and make it semi-transparent. And if we move this off to the side, there we see the white background looking pretty good. Then one other thing that we can do for it is to add a border radius, so it's not so square with the edges. So I'll just apply this border radius to all around and then save it. And there we have the text with the light background, so it's going to look better on mobile devices. So I'll go up and select Done and Publish. Then if we take a look at the website on mobile, we'll have a light background behind the text, which is going to look better with the image back there and the white overlay. Okay, so that concludes the tutorial on building our complete WordPress website. Please remember to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications for new tutorials. And stick around for a few minutes because as a bonus to this video, for these last few minutes left, I'm going to share my favorite plugins with you to add more functionality to your WordPress websites. Okay guys, so the first thing that I want to share with you when it comes to adding functionality to your WordPress website is a website that I use called GetResponse. So GetResponse is what you can use to build your email list, which is important for blogs and for local businesses to get in touch with your customers through your website. So in a future video, I'm going to do a demo on how to build a WordPress blog or website that has the functionality of adding people to your email list with email subscribe features. And then once you're in GetResponse, you can send emails to people automatically through an automation series, or you can send messages manually when you come out with a new blog post, for example. So I'll put a link in the video description to a free sign-up page for GetResponse. You don't need a credit card to get signed up. And then watch for my video in the future where I'll show you how to add that functionality to your WordPress website or blog and how to maintain your email list. So now back to the list of plugins inside of WordPress. We already covered the Ask Emmett Spam plugin earlier in the video, which I think is the most crucial plugin when it comes to blogs and spam message prevention. Then moving down the list, the next thing that I'll recommend to you is Website Security by WordFence. So this is a free plugin. The paid version is kind of expensive, so I myself just use the free version, but you're welcome to go over to their website and check out what they have available. With WordPress websites, there's always a risk of being hacked, especially if you're using free themes. Unfortunately, even though we used a free theme to build the website today, free themes just aren't maintained as well as paid versions. So you do have some options related to what we used in this video for premium themes such as Beaver Builder, Astra, or Elementor. but I don't recommend their premium versions actually because of their limitations, which is what I said at the beginning of the video. So now let's drop down and move on to WordPress backup solutions. So this is the one that I use. I use the Pro version of Duplicator, which is, in my opinion, the best backup solution for WordPress. So again, I'll have a link in the description, but if you go over to their website, you can check out the Pro version, which gives you automated backups, and you can link to places like Amazon or Dropbox and other cloud resources, in addition to having a backup that's placed on your Bluehost account, which you can also download through WordPress with the automatic backups that are generated. Then I also have another option for backups here, which is Updraft Plus. So the thing about Updraft Plus is they offer free automatic backups, but it's kind of confusing. Your website gets backed up in sections, and with Duplicator, for the free version, they don't offer automatic backups. You would have to do it manually, but you're able to back up your entire website in one click and restore your entire backup through one set of files, as opposed to having your website backed up in sections with Updraft Plus. So that's why I recommend Duplicator Pro over Updraft Plus. Then I'll give you another tip here, which is to optimize and clean your database. So with WordPress, you don't want to keep adding database tables that aren't being used. So for example, edits to website pages that are left up, and then you end up having like 50 edits to a page. You want to clean those revisions so the database doesn't start getting really gigantic. Just make sure that you do backups before you clean the database. And I only recommend the free version of this. I wouldn't want a pro version that's going to clean the database without me being there, because I'd want to do a backup first. So now the next plugin is called Yoast SEO. This is probably the most popular SEO plugin for WordPress, and I only recommend the free version for this because the paid version is really expensive. And if you're going to pay for SEO, there are other options that you can get more bang for your buck with. But they do have a lot of great search engine optimization resources on their website if you're new to search engine optimization. So giving some of their articles a read will probably be worth it to you. And then if you want, you can go on to checking out more advanced search engine optimization resources. So next, for website caching, this is going to speed up the load time of your website, and this is the best free version, I think, on WordPress. I wouldn't go with the paid version of this. If you're going to go with a paid version, I would get WP Rocket, which is what I use in combination with a content delivery network such as Cloudflare, which will serve your website files from servers around the world and make your load time a lot faster, which is good for Google search engine optimization and the general user experience of your website. Also, WP Rocket comes with a free image optimization plugin as well. So again, W3 Total Cache for a free version and WP Rocket for a paid version. In combination with Cloudflare is what I recommend. So next, I'm going to go over two plugins that you can use with the GetResponse website once you get signed up for email marketing. So I'm going to go with a free version. So to collect your email addresses, the best free version, in my opinion, is going to be Pop-Up Maker. But if you're going to go with a paid version, you'll definitely want to go with Opt-in Monster over Pop-Up Maker. So again, once you get set up with GetResponse and start collecting email addresses from your customers or subscribers, you'll want to check out these opt-in plugins. Okay, and that does it for all of the plugins that I recommend, from free to paid versions and more. So once again, the most pertinent ones would be Beaver Builder, and to get some website security up, especially if you're using a free theme like what we covered in this video, go ahead and install WordPress Security, and then you can check out the premium or paid versions or the free ones of these other ones that I recommend. So thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like this video, and turn on your notifications for new tutorials, and I'll see you in the next one.